by the beauty of his complexion. He in whom all this is destroyed, taken out with the very root. He, when freed from hatred and wise, is called respectable. Not by tonsure does a disciplined man who speaks falsehood become a samana. Can a man be a samana who is still held captive by desire and greediness? He who always quiets the evil, whether small or large, he is called a samana, a quiet man, because he has quieted all evil. A man is not a mendicant, bhikshu, simply because he asks others for alms. He who adopts the whole law is a bhikshu, not he who only begs. He who is above good and evil, who is chaste, who with knowledge passes through the world, he indeed is called a bhikshu. A man is not a muni because he observes silence if he is foolish and ignorant, but a wise who, taking the balance, chooses the good and avoids the evil, he is a muni. Muni thereby. He who in this world weighs both sides is called a muni. A man is not an elect, Ariya, because he injures living creatures. Because he has pity on all living creatures, thereby is a man called Ariya. Not only by discipline and vows, not only by much learning, not by entering into a trance, not by sleeping alone, do I earn the happiness of release which no worldling can know. Bhikshu, be not confident, as long as thou hast not attained the extinction of desires. Chapter 20. The Way. The best of ways is the eightfold. The best of truths is the 4 words. The best of virtues, passionlessness. The best of men, he who has eyes to see. This is the way. There is no other that leads to the purifying of intelligence. Go on this way. Everything else is the deceit of Mara, the tempter. If you go on this way, you will make an end of pain. The way was preached by me when I had understood the removal of the thorns in the flesh. You yourself must make an effort. The Tathagatas, Buddhas, are only preachers. The thoughtful who enter the way are freed from the bondage of Mara. All created things perish. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way to purity. All created things are grief and pain. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. All forms are unreal. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. He who does not rouse himself when it is time to rise, who, though young and strong, is full of sloth, whose will and thought are weak, that lazy and idle man will never find the way to knowledge. Watching his speech, well restrained in mind, let a man never commit any wrong with his body. Let a man but keep these 3 roads of action clear, and he will achieve the way which is taught by the wise. Through zeal, knowledge is gotten. Through lack of zeal, knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows this double path of gain and loss thus place himself, that knowledge may grow. Cut down the whole forest of lust, not a tree only. Danger comes out of the forest of lust. When you have cut down both the forest and its undergrowth, then, bhikshus, you will be rid of the forest and free. So long as the love of man towards women, even the smallest, is not destroyed, so long is his mind in bondage, as the calf that drinks milk is to its mother. Cut out the love of self like an autumn lotus with thy hand. Cherish the road of peace. Nirvana has been shown by Sugata, Buddha. Here I shall dwell in the rain, here in winter and summer. Thus the fool meditates, and does not think death. Death comes and carries off that man, prays for his children and flocks, his mind distracted, as a flood carries off a sleeping village. Sons are no help, nor a father, nor relations. There is no help from kinsfolk for one whom death has seized. A wise and good man that knows the meaning of this should quickly clear the way that leads to nirvana. Through zeal, knowledge is gotten. Through lack of zeal, knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows this double path of gain and loss thus place himself, that knowledge may grow. Cut down the whole forest of lust, not only a tree. Danger comes out of the forest of lust. When you have cut down both the forest and its undergrowth, then, bhikshus, you will be rid of the forest and free. So long as the love of man towards women, even the smallest, is not destroyed, so long is his mind in bondage, as the calf that drinks milk is to its mother. Cut out the love of self, like an autumn lotus, with thy hand. Cherish the road of peace. Nirvana has been shown by Sugata, Buddha. Chapter 21. Miscellaneous. If by leaving a small pleasure one sees a great pleasure, Let a wise man leave the small pleasure and look to the great. He who, by causing pain to others, wishes to obtain pleasure for himself, he, entangled in the bonds of hatred, will never be free from hatred. What ought to be done is neglected. What ought not to be done is done. The desires of unruly, thoughtless people are always increasing. But they whose whole watchfulness is always directed to their body, who do not follow what ought not to be done, and who steadfastly do what ought to be done, the desires of such watchful and wise people will come to an end. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother and 2 valiant kings, though he has destroyed a kingdom with all its subjects. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother and 2 holy kings and an eminent man besides. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on Buddha. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the law. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the church. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on their body. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their minds day and night always delights in compassion. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their mind day and night always delights in meditation. It is hard to leave the world, to become a friar. It is hard to enjoy the world. Hard is the monastery, painful are the houses. Painful it is to dwell with equals, to share everything in common, and the itinerant mendicant is beset with pain. Therefore let no man be an itinerant mendicant, and he will not be beset with pain. Whatever place a faithful, virtuous, celebrated, and wealthy man chooses, there he is respected. Good people shine from afar, like the snowy mountains. Bad people are not seen, like arrows shot at night. He alone who, without ceasing, practices the duty of sitting alone and sleeping alone, he, subduing himself, will rejoice in the destruction of all desires alone, as if living in a forest. Chapter 22. The Downward Course. He who says what is not goes to hell. He also who, having done a thing, says, I have not done it, after death both are equal. They are men with evil deeds in the next world. Many men whose shoulders are covered with the yellow gown are ill-conditioned and unrestrained. Such evildoers by their evil deeds go to hell. Better it would be to swallow a heated iron bowl, like flaring fire, than that a bad, unrestrained fellow should live on the charity of the land. 4 things does a reckless man gain who covets his neighbour's wife: a bad reputation, an uncomfortable bed, thirdly punishment, and lastly hell. There is the bad reputation and the evil way to hell. There is the short pleasure of the frightened in the arms of the frightened, and the king imposes heavy punishment. Therefore let no man think of his neighbour's wife. As a grass blade, if badly grasped, cuts the arm, badly practised asceticism leads to hell. An act carelessly performed, a broken vow, and hesitating obedience to discipline, all this brings no great reward. If anything is to be done, let a man do it. Let him attack it vigorously. A careless pilgrim only scatters the dust of his passions more widely. An evil deed is better left undone, for a man repents of it afterwards. A good deed is better done, for having done it, one does not repent. Like a well-guarded frontier fort, with defences within and without, so let a man guard himself. Not a moment should escape, for they who allow the right moment to pass suffer pain when they are in hell. They who are ashamed of what they ought not to be ashamed of, and are not ashamed of what they ought to be ashamed of, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who fear when they ought not to fear, and fear not when they ought to fear, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who forbid when there is nothing to be forbidden, and forbid not when there is something to be forbidden, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who know what is forbidden as forbidden, and what is not forbidden as not forbidden, such men, embracing the true doctrine, enter the good path. Chapter 23. The Elephant. Silently shall I endure abuse, as the elephant in battle endures the arrows sent from the bow, for this world is ill-natured. They lead a tamed elephant to battle. The king mounts a tamed elephant. The tamed is the best among men, he who silently endures abuse. Mules are good if tamed, and noble Sindhu horses, and elephants with large tusks, but he who tames himself is better still. For with these animals does no man reach the untrodden country, nirvana, where a tamed man goes on a tamed animal, vis-a-vis on his own well-tamed self. The elephant called Dhanapalika, his temples running with sap and difficult to hold, does not eat a morsel when bound. The elephant longs for the elephant grove. If a man becomes fat and a great eater, if he is sleepy and rolls himself about, that fool, like a hog fed on wash, is born again and again. This mind of mine went formerly wandering about as it liked, as it listed, as it pleased, but I shall now hold it in thoroughly, as the rider who holds the hook holds in the furious elephant. Be not thoughtless, watch your thoughts, draw yourself out of the evil way, like an elephant sunk in mud. If a man find a prudent companion who walks with him, is wise, and lives soberly, let him walk with him, overcoming all dangers, happy but considerate. If a man find no prudent companion who walks with him, is wise, and lives soberly, let him walk alone, like a king who has left his conquered country behind, like an elephant in the forest. It is better to live alone. There is no companionship with a fool. Let a man walk alone, let him commit no sin, with few wishes, like an elephant in the forest. If an occasion arises, friends are pleasant. Enjoyment is pleasant, whatever be the cause. A good work is pleasant in the hour of death. The giving up of all grief is pleasant. Pleasant in the world is the state of a mother, pleasant the state of a father, pleasant the state of a samana, pleasant the state of a brahmana. Pleasant is virtue lasting to old age. Pleasant is a faith firmly rooted. Pleasant is attainment of intelligence. Pleasant is avoiding of sins. Chapter 24. Thirst. The thirst of a thoughtless man grows like a creeper. He runs from life to life, like a monkey seeking fruit in the forest. Whomsoever this fierce thirst overcomes, full of poison, in this world his sufferings will increase like the abounding banana grass. He who overcomes this fierce thirst, difficult to be conquered in this world, sufferings fall off from him, like water drops from a lotus leaf. This salutary word I tell you, do ye, as many as are here assembled, dig up the root of thirst, as he who wants the sweet-scented Usira root must dig up the banana grass, that Mara the tempter may not crush you again and again, as the stream crushes the reeds. As a tree, even though it has been cut down, is firm so long as its root is safe, and grows again, thus, unless the feeders of thirst are destroyed, the pain of life will return again and again. He whose thirst, running towards pleasure, is exceeding strong in the 36 channels, the waves will carry away that misguided man, vis-a-vis his desires which are set on passion. The channels run everywhere. The creeper of passion stands sprouting. If you see the creeper springing up, cut its roots by means of knowledge. A creature's pleasures are extravagant and luxurious. Sunk in lust and looking for pleasure, men undergo, again and again, birth and decay. Men, driven on by thirst, run about like a snared hare. Held in fetters and bonds, they undergo pain for a long time, again and again. Men driven on by thirst run about like a snared hare. Let, therefore, the mendicant drive out thirst, by striving after passionlessness for himself. He who, having got rid of the forest of lust after having reached nirvana, gives himself over to the forest life and lust, and who, when removed from the forest, runs to the forest, look at that man. Though free, he runs into bondage. Wise people do not call that a strong fetter which is made of iron, wood, or hemp. Far stronger is the care for precious stones and rings, for sons and a wife. That fetter wise people call strong, which drags down, yields, but is difficult to undo. After having cut this at last, people leave the world, free from cares, and leaving desires and pleasures behind. Those who are slaves to passions run down with the stream of desires, as a spider runs down the web which he has made himself. When they have cut this, at last, wise people leave the world free from cares, leaving all affection behind. Give up what is before, give up what is behind, give up what is in the middle. When thou goest to the other shore of existence, if thy mind is altogether free, thou wilt not again enter into birth and decay. If a man is tossed about by doubts, full of strong passions, and yearning only for what is delightful, his thirst will grow more and more, and he will indeed make his fetters strong. If a man delights in quieting doubts, and always reflecting, dwells on what is not delightful, the impurity of the body, he certainly will remove, nay, he will cut the fetter of Mara. He who has reached the consummation, who does not tremble, who is without thirst and without sin. He has broken all the thorns of life. This will be his last body. He who is without thirst and without affection, who understands the words and their interpretation, who knows the order of letters, those which are before and which are after, he has received his last body. He is called the great sage, the great man. I have conquered all. I know all. In all conditions of life I am free from taint. I have left all, and through the destruction of thirst I am free. Having learned myself, whom shall I teach? The gift of law exceeds all gifts. The sweetness of law exceeds all sweetness. The delight in the law exceeds all delights. The extinction of thirst overcomes all pain. Pleasures destroy the foolish, if they look not for the other shore. The foolish, by his thirst for pleasures, destroys himself, as if he were his own enemy. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by passion. Therefore a gift bestowed on the passionless brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by hatred. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who do not hate brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by vanity. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who are free from vanity brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by lust. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who are free from lust brings great reward. Chapter 25. The Bhikshu, Mendicant. Restraint in the eye is good. Good is restraint in the ear. In the nose restraint is good. Good is restraint in the tongue. In the body restraint is good. Good is restraint in speech. In thought restraint is good. Good is restraint in all things. A bhikshu, restrained in all things, is freed from all pain. He who controls his hand, he who controls his feet, he who controls his speech, he who is well controlled, he who delights inwardly, who is collected, who is solitary and content, him they call bhikshu. The bhikshu who controls his mouth, who speaks wisely and calmly, who teaches the meaning and the law, his word is sweet. He who dwells in the law delights in the law, meditates on the law, follows the law. That bhikshu will never fall away from the true law. Let him not despise what he has received, nor ever envy others. A mendicant who envies others does not obtain peace of mind. A bhikshu who, though he receives little, does not despise what he has received, even the gods will praise him, if his life is pure and if he is not slothful. He who never identifies himself with name and form, and does not grieve over what is no more, he is indeed called a bhikshu. The bhikshu who acts with kindness, who is calm in the doctrine of Buddha, will reach the quiet place, nirvana, cessation of natural desires, and happiness. O bhikshu, empty this boat. If emptied, it will go quickly. Having cut off passion and hatred, thou wilt go to nirvana. Cut off the 5 senses. Leave the 5. Rise above the 5. A bhikshu who has escaped from the 5 fetters, he is called Oghatina, saved from the flood. Meditate, O bhikshu, and be not heedless. Do not direct thy thought to what gives pleasure, that thou mayest not, for thy heedlessness, have to swallow the iron bowl in hell, and that thou mayest not cry out when burning, this is pain. Without knowledge there is no meditation. Without meditation there is no knowledge. He who has knowledge and meditation is near unto nirvana. A bhikshu who has entered his empty house, and whose mind is tranquil, feels a more than human delight when he sees the law clearly. As soon as he has considered the origin and destruction of the elements of the body, he finds happiness and joy which belong to those who know the immortal nirvana. And this is the beginning here for a wise bhikshu. Watchfulness over the senses, contentedness, restraint under the law, keep noble friends whose life is pure and who are not slothful. Let him live in charity, let him be perfect in his duties, then in the fullness of delight he will make an end of suffering. As the Vasika plant sheds its withered flowers, men should shed passion and hatred, O ye bhikshus. The bhikshu whose body and tongue and mind are quieted, who is collected and has rejected the baits of the world, he is called quiet. Rouse thyself by thyself, examine thyself by thyself. Thus, self-protected and attentive, wilt thou live happily, O bhikshu. For self is the lord of self. Self is the refuge of self. Therefore curb thyself, as the merchant curbs a good horse. The bhikshu, full of delight, who is calm in the doctrine of Buddha, will reach the quiet place, nirvana. cessation of natural desires, and happiness. He who, even as a young bhikshu, applies himself to the doctrine of Buddha, brightens up this world, like the moon when free from clouds. Chapter 26. The Brahmana, Arhat. Stop the stream valiantly, drive away the desires, O Brahmana. When you have understood the destruction of all that was made, you will understand that which was not made. If the Brahmana has reached the other shore in both laws, in restraint and contemplation, all bonds vanish from him who has attained knowledge. He for whom there is neither this shore nor that shore, nor both, him, the fearless and unshackled, I call indeed a Brahmana. He who is thoughtful, blameless, settled, dutiful, without passions, and who has attained the highest end, him I call indeed the Brahmana. The sun is bright by day, the moon shines by night. The warrior is bright in his armor, the Brahmana is bright in his meditation. But Buddha, the awakened, is bright with splendor day and night. Because a man is rid of evil, therefore he is called Brahmana. Because he walks, or he is called Samana. Because he has sent away his own impurities, therefore he is called Pravragita, a pilgrim. No one should attack a Brahmana. But no Brahmana, if attacked, should let himself fly at his aggressor. Woe to him who strikes a Brahmana, more woe to him who flies at his aggressor. It advantages a Brahmana not a little if he holds his mind back from the pleasures of life. When all wish to injure has vanished, pain will cease. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who does not offend by body, word, or thought, and is controlled on these 3 points. After a man has once understood the law, as taught by the well-awakened Buddha, let him worship it carefully, as the Brahmana worships the sacrificial fire. A man does not become a Brahmana by his plaited hair, by his family, or by birth. In whom there is truth and righteousness, he is blessed, he is a Brahmana. What is the use of plaited hair, O fool? What of the raiment of goatskins? Within thee there is ravening, but the outside thou makest clean. The man who wears dirty raiments, who is emaciated and covered with veins, who lives alone in the forest and meditates, him I call indeed a Brahmana. I do not call a man a Brahmana because of his origin or of his mother. He is indeed arrogant and he is wealthy, but the poor, who is free from all attachments, him I call indeed a Brahmana. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has cut all fetters, who never trembles, is independent and unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has cut the strap and the thong, the chain with all that pertains to it, who has burst the bar and is awakened. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who, though he has committed no offence, endures reproach, bonds and stripes, who has endurance for his force and strength for his army. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who is free from anger, dutiful, virtuous, without appetite, who is subdued and has received his last body. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who does not cling to pleasures, like water on a lotus leaf, like a mustard seed on the point of a needle. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who, even though he knows the end of his suffering, has put down his burden and is unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana whose knowledge is deep, who possesses wisdom, who knows the right way and the wrong, and has attained the highest end. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who keeps aloof both from laymen and from mendicants, who frequents no houses and has but few desires. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who finds no fault with other beings, whether feeble or strong, and does not kill nor cause slaughter. Him I call indeed a Brahmana from whom anger and hatred, pride and envy have dropped like a mustard seed from the point of a needle. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who utters true speech, instructive and free from harshness, so that he offend no one. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who takes nothing in the world that is not given to him, be it long or short, small or large, good or bad. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who fosters no desires for this world or for the next, has no inclinations, and is unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has no interest, and when he has understood the truth, does not say, how, and who has reached the depth of the immortal. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who in this world is above good and evil, above the bondage of both, free from grief from sin, and from impurity. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who is bright like the moon, pure, serene, undisturbed, and in whom all gaiety is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has traversed this miry road, the impassable world and its vanity, who has gone through and reached the other shore, is thoughtful, guileless, free from doubts, and content. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who in this world, leaving all desires, travels about without a home, and in whom all concupiscence is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who, leaving all longings, travels about without a home, and in whom all covetousness is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who, after leaving all bondage to men, has risen above all bondage to the gods, and is free from all and every bondage. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who has left what gives pleasure and what gives pain, who is cold and free from all germs of renewed life, the hero who has conquered all the worlds. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who knows the destruction and the return of beings everywhere, who is free from bondage, welfaring and awakened. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, whose path the gods do not know, nor spirits, nor men, whose passions are extinct, and who is an arhat, venerable.
Good guy.
Him I call.
I consider him a friend. Thanks for being here, John. He's also very passionate about this topic.
Yeah.
Hello?
Sorry, that was my fault. I got interrupted. It wasn't the CIA or anybody like that. What I was saying is that, to be simple, I think Trump's post was a rock in the pond, and the ripples are going out. And all the parties that are concerned, which is everybody and especially people who are going to be prosecuted for their crimes, they recognize that the rock has been thrown in the pond. Now, without believing in anything, I could have this opinion that Trump wasn't for mandatory injections. Trump stated when the Operation Warp Speed was announced that we would have a safe and effective vaccine, and he got Fauci to stand up there and agree that that was the plan, and then that didn't happen. The injections didn't happen until after Trump was not in office. So we can't say that Trump was directly the one who mandatorily injected people with the mRNA. But the mRNA has been injected. There's no way to hide the evidence. And so it's possible that Operation Warp Speed was a sting. But if it was a sting, we'll have the evidence within this month, because it's either going to turn in the direction of exposing and having legitimate judicial or military type of response, or it won't. And I don't think people are going to let it go without following up on it. I followed up on it today, and I got a need to prove your account is human. I posted a lot about it. And I go right to safety because I know that I have not threatened people or lied about things, so they have no legitimacy to censor my account. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak, and I look forward to Trump getting information from people who've done the forensic research, like so many on this platform, Lindsay, Nick, so many people. All the data is available, so if they continue to pretend it's not, then we know that they're truly on the wrong side.
Thanks for sharing, Google Foo. Yo, Dr. Lori, let's let John Kitover go, because he hasn't gotten a chance to go yet.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, this is big news, and Kennedy, is really, I think, changing the entire neural network of Americans. I mean, just getting here right now, Augustus and his beautiful Mrs. Palante helped spread, the message of Kennedy, which is that 35 injections, today for an infant versus 4 back in 86. I mean, we are basically, through Big Pharma, poisoning ourselves in the name of making profit, creating debt, and taxing ourselves through Medicare, Medicaid. So, the government is broke. America's broke. We're $37 trillion in funded debt. We're $100 trillion plus in unfunded debt. So if we don't start making serious, pragmatic decisions on priorities of spending and borrowing, we are digging a hole of such epic proportions that, hundreds of years of American history are going to just it's all going to implode, because we are borrowing and spending ourselves into a deep grave. But the good news is that Kennedy and Trump are pushing back against Big Pharma, that they're not just mouthpieces, and that they're calling for transparency and for publishing the real numbers. And, I would say as an independent filmmaker myself, and an artist and a creative, that just interviewing individuals that have had adverse reaction and posting that to YouTube, because you can and cannot say things still with information. If you say that I got put into a wheelchair because I got a COVID-19 vaccine, that's medical misinformation, even if it's true. So censorship is a huge issue in the medical industrial complex on these big tech platforms. And as Americans, we enforce our constitutional rights to freedom of speech and the press. That you, as an independent creator, are an agent of the press. You are your own news agency. So take action now. Augustus is helping me trying to defeat a vaccinologist, rhinologist, and super debt creator known as Darren LaHood in the 16th district, who has been in Congress for 10 years. And if we create $2 trillion every year in debt, he has presided over creating $20 trillion in debt for you, we the people. We have to kick these credit card mortgage debt junkies out of government. They're destroying your future now, and they're destroying your children and your grandchildren's opportunities in the future. So I thank you all for being here. I think today should be a day of resistance against vaccines, lockdowns, and baby diaper masks, all because Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates and the World Health Organization decided to cook up a biological weapon in Wuhan and deploy it against the world so Big Pharma could rake in trillions upon trillions of taxpayer dollars. So God bless you all. I hope you're a patriot, and today is a day of liberation for you. God bless everybody.
All communication is hypnosis. All communication is hypnosis. With that being said, this is preservation of the human race. Today we're discussing the investigation of Operation Warp Speed led by the Trump administration. Breaking news. And we've got Destiny and Jay Scott as co-hosts. What a team. We've got Dr. Lori with her hand raised. What an amazing doctor. Let's hear from Dr. Lori.
Hey, thank you, Augustus. I'm thinking about this and kind of just taking everything into consideration. I didn't just change my opinion in the last couple minutes, but I was hopeful for a minute, but then I remembered this whole thing was a DOD operation. But they're not. Nobody's going to be allowed to actually get to the truth, is what I'm thinking now. Again, considering, especially because it was a DOD operation. And you know how it is, especially within the government, it's, you show us the results you want, and we'll get you the data. There's so many studies out there, and a lot of them, they're not going to look at the right ones. Like, for example, when Destiny was, I think it was Destiny talking before, no, I'm sorry, it was Jay, who was talking about, there's some recent studies showing that women that were vaccinated had like 30% less pregnancy. I think that's what you said. I'm sorry if I'm misstating that, but Dr. Thorpe did a lot of research, and he's actually compiled it into reports, and nobody's gonna look at that, but he has some amazing data. So I don't know. I just kind of want to. But I don't want to bring anybody down, but that's where I'm at right now.
Well, honestly, I'm going to give you my opinion, right? Honestly, I think behind the scenes what's going on is that RFK Jr. is like, listen, President Trump, the CD has been actively covering up the true numbers on what's going on with this vaccine, and there's a lot of deaths and reverse side effects and injuries that have come from it. I want to pull them off the market. And President Trump's like, well, the numbers that I'm seeing coming from Pfizer show that everything's good as gold. And he's like, yo, you're being lied to. So they're going to say, okay, well, you want to pull them off the market, let's just go through the appropriate steps to do it. Let's launch an investigation. Midway through the investigation, take them off the market. How's that sound? He says, okay, that sounds good. And within the next few months, you'll see them pulled from the marketplace. That's my opinion. That's my take. As far as the DOD involvement, as far as the DOD's involvement into this investigation, I think that you're right. You know, we might not ever get what we're looking for when it comes to this investigation, but I think that the investigation, a side effect of it will be, let's pull these things off the market. And that's the ultimate goal, right? So getting...
Yeah, I hope you're right. That's all we really need. I mean, at the end of the day, those of us that know what's up, we already know what we need to know. We just need to get them off the market.
I would just add to that.
Yeah. Go ahead, do it.
Yeah, I would say we want to start an overall conversation about mRNA technology. Oh, excuse me, I'm a little tired because I'm finishing up a workout, but we got to talk about mRNA technology as well as privacy concerns around data. So, sorry, I'll let the next hand speak. I know we got Godfrey up on stage with other speakers. Welcome everybody, and I'll be back in a second.
Hey guys, I don't know who's next, but we do have some new people on stage. Welcome Frank, welcome Joe, NH Conservative, and Godfrey. I'm not sure which one of you guys are next, but let's just go to NH, and then Joe, and then Godfrey.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I've been thinking for a long time, because I've always thought the shots were pretty bad, although I did get the first two plus a booster, and I had a lot of trouble with the booster, but fortunately, at least we got Moderna, not Pfizer. You know, I'm 78 years old, so I was in that group that, you know, back then we were encouraged to get it, and, you know, it was done by the National Guard here. We're actually giving the shots out in New Hampshire. And then the more I found out about everything, I want to keep this short, but I found out that, you know, ivermectin was the way to go with all the other stuff, the CCC, et cetera. So, and probably everyone on here thinks the same, more or less the same thing, I would think. Anyway, so here's my thought about what happens if they get pulled off the market. Because I've talked to a lot of people that, you know, think that they're an absolute miracle. And, you know, you try to talk to them about all the negative effects and everything, they tell you that's all nonsense, it's not true, people really weren't hurt, blah, 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 blah. So what are those people going to think? When it gets pulled off the market, people are going to say why. We want to know why. And if part of that answer is they're dangerous, they should have never been given to babies. If you've had a whole bunch of those shots, your body is just constantly making the spike protein, which will kill you, screw up your heart, mess up your brain, all this other stuff that has been talked about, whether it's true or not true, I don't know. But if that starts to open up in the general discussion of the country, I think that could be a little bit hysterical for a lot of people. And so I'm a little concerned about it, just from the point of view of how is the society going to react when they find out what really happened to them. And not only what happened to them, but what might be happening to them that they can't get rid of out of their body, because nobody has any way of really doing that. I know there's the NATO kinase and all that other stuff, and I've taken some of that stuff, and I have no idea. There's no way, at least I haven't found an easy way in my hospital with my doctor to find out how much spike protein I have. I know there's probably ways of doing it. I'll just leave it there, but I think that when that comes out, that's going to be one dangerous time for the country, and it could be actually political suicide for President Trump, because even though he didn't mandate them, it was his thing that got it going. Warp speed was a big deal. He talked about it all the time.
but go ahead.
Bad or indifferent.
Yeah, I'm with you. Harold
It's going to be a
Camping
big problem, I think. Thank you for the time to speak, and I'm going to drop down. I appreciate that contribution, and I actually just posted up in the Jumbotron a link to a LabCorp website where you're able to get your antibodies tested. You know, I would say I think there are ways people can detox their bodies, but it may be different depending on who you're talking to. Really, sorry I'm out of breath, everybody, but yeah, I know we got a
few new hands on stage, and thanks for the contribution, NA chat. You know, stay positive and continue exploring holistic and natural options too. But yeah, sorry, I haven't been doing a good job keeping order of the hands. I'm finishing on my workout now, but Destiny or Augustus, do you guys know who's next?
I don't, but what was that? Sorry, Augustus.
Joe.
Sounds good. I'm not excited yet about what I saw Trump post. It says that there's doubt. When I hear 5 words and I start hearing it often, then I will be convinced we're headed on the right path on a political level. And their rule is dependent, please rise. Is there going to be justice? Are they going to let these people just slide under the rug of rock and as far as detox goes, I mean, I recognize that we haven't been poisoned for years. We've been poisoned for centuries. And a lot of that's getting unwound. Even Bobby's been talking about aluminum and how it comes out.
Hit that share
button. For me, it was just looking at one of the adjectives.
This is a response from Trump's post about Operation Warp Speed.
It was anaphylactic shock and hyperallergenic reactions. That was my childhood illness and why my daughter's been unvaccinated. But it's not the only attack vector. It's one of the worst. mRNA is the worst of the bad. Self-amplifying is the worst of the bad. And then we've got old plumbing, lead poisoning. That's what my family is dealing with and detoxing from. And I've developed a chelation therapy regimen that is working for my family. Well, the ones that are taking it. And even just discovered there's a chelator for glyphosate. So there are countermeasures. There are things we can do to improve our health. And that said, I've never seen natural aging. I've only seen toxic overload and rapid aging. And I think we have a long way to go towards becoming healthy. And it's encouraging, but until we see people in courts, until we see real action, I think we, as a people, still need to do what we're doing, which is pushing forward, pushing that needle, firing our pediatricians, and taking care, seeking out natural remedies for everything, knowing that what the pediatricians are doing is creating lifelong customers for these modern allopathic healthcare system. And we'll know we're successful when the pediatric healthcare market crashes. And that'll be a hard figure of about a decade later when the entire healthcare system other than trauma care crashes. I'll drop the mic. And we'll know we're successful.
Thanks for sharing, Joe. What's up, Godfrey?
And that'll be a hard figure of about a decade.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having this space. Look, I'm just gonna tell you what's gonna happen, and the military and the CIA is never going to investigate themselves. So it's going to be a show trial for the ages. You're gonna see a lot of congressional hearings with tongue lashings and people getting, quote, embarrassed by senators and congressmen and excoriated in the House and Senate floor. But that's all that's going to happen. Nobody's going to be arrested. Dr. Fauci's not going to be arrested. Dr. Birx, Rochelle Walensky's never going to be arrested because these people are all in on it. Trump was in on it. He issued Operation Warp Speed to get the vaccine to everybody. It's one of his proudest accomplishments. And RFK could have dealt with this issue in a very politically expedient way. He could have just taken the mRNA vaccines off the shelves without any kind of proclamation to say, hey, they served their purpose, we're removing them from the shelves, but he didn't. He had the power to do it. President Trump had the power to do it, and he didn't do it because they wanted to keep vaccinating people. It's really that simple. I mean, RFK Jr. has lied about almost everything he campaigned on. He is ushering us into the biodigital convergence. He has not removed vaccines from the shelves. He's pushing wearables, and what he means by wearables is quantum dot technology that Bill Gates is talking about, not your Fitbit. And look, like, he seems to be obsessed with food diets. Like, that's all he talks about. When in reality, how he got elected, his whole platform was removing vaccines. And he hasn't done anything on that front. So I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but nothing's going to happen. Dr. Fauci's not going to be arrested, or any of those people aren't going to be arrested. And I'll just end by saying this. Look, if Trump can't prosecute the Epstein clients, which should have been a layup case, with over 4,000 pieces of data seized by the raid in New York that journalist Nick Bryan has talked about, 4,000 pieces of data with, quote, a truckload of evidence, clearly he's not going to prosecute Dr. Fauci, Rochelle Walensky, and Deborah Birx and those types because these people travel in the same circles. They're part of the same CIA Mossad network. Nobody is going, and I'm sorry to be the doomer here in the black pillar, but that's just the truth. It really is.
You know, Godfrey, I hear a lot of your concerns, and to, you know, add to that, I would say, you know, one thing RFK spoke a lot about during the campaign was glyphosate in the food, and we recently had a bill that seems to, you know, advance the gave to vaccine manufacturers, to the manufacturers of glyphosate, which is in a lot of our food and we don't even realize it. So those are concerns you brought a lot of. That is most troubling to me is it seems that there's like a little bit of an attempt to put COVID on China, and you know they're not really talking about the deep state involvement. And when you consider how much Trump talks about the deep state, I would hope that he's taking every opportunity he can to hold them accountable. And it feels like a huge missed opportunity. In addition to obviously the Epstein list that you just mentioned and everything else you brought up. So those are definitely valid concerns, I'd say, Godfrey.
Yeah, and just real quick, I think he is going to try and shift the blame to China as well, just like he's doing with election fraud. Kash Patel is already seeding the narrative that it was China that hacked into our elections, not traitors from the CIA, not Israel, but China. So they're seeding the narrative there as well, and China's an easy scapegoat. It doesn't require anybody to be arrested. It doesn't require anybody to be put on trial. They can just blame it all on China without any adjudication. So I agree with you, sir.
Real quickly, I just want to interject to Godfrey's point because I